Um, Thank you everybody for joining us today, and big thank you to Mr. Stephen Mead for being able to do this today. So, as I'm sure many of you already know, Stephen Mead is a world famous professional euphonium soloist. He's done many co-appearances with professional orchestras and wind bands all over the world, premiered countless pieces, recorded what is it, 65 CDs to your credit right now?
It's a few more than that, but 65 is a good round number.
All right. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to him, and we're going to be working with some students today from Cal State Fullerton and a student from Fullerton College, the local junior college in our area. So the first student that we have today is Sal Estrada from Fullerton College. He will be playing Sonata for Unaccompanied Euphonium, the second movement, by Fred L. Clinard.
Yeah. So I'll say, well, it's good afternoon for you. It's good evening here. It's 8:03 p.m. in the UK, and I'm sure although I hear you've had some pretty interesting weather this winter. We're about 38 degrees, dark and kind of miserable. We're miserable in lots of ways with the bloody virus. So we're using music to pull ourselves out of that and keep ourselves cheerful and be motivated. So I'm really happy. Thank you, Sebastian, for the invitation. It's really great to be here. So we get the first part of this afternoon, is to listen to three students play. I don't mind the order, but on my list here we have Salvador. Are you ready, my friend? Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Fantastic. And then Dylan, and then Casey will finish that segment with the Fantasy for Euphonium, a nice bit of Arban in the middle. It's great. And then I hope you've got some questions, or if you haven't got any questions, as we go on, you can find some. Okay, so right. So Salvador, have we ever met before?
No, unfortunately, no.
Nope, never at an international tuba event or anything like that. You
No.
never know, because sometimes I say we've never met before. They go, "Oh, yes, we have. You gave me a lesson at iTech," and then I feel terrible. So it's nice to meet you for the first time. That's fantastic. Um,
Likewise.
so those that are listening, those that are on camera, just raise a hand if you know this piece by Fred L. Clinard Jr. One, two, two. Yeah, and the rest of you who are non-visible, you may do. It's an interesting piece. It's a very old piece now, really. When I first went to the States in 1990, this was an old piece then, and it was given to me by a good friend of mine, Luis Maldonado, who sadly died about 8 years later. So it's one of the great unaccompanied pieces. The first movement and the third movement are pretty technical, aren't they, Salvador?
Very, yes.
and not that you've chosen the easy option. In many ways, this is harder because the outer movements, basically, you just play them the way they are, at the right tempo, with the right rhythm, and it sounds good. The middle movement is called song, and what's interesting is it's just, on the paper, it looks like a bunch of notes. Sometimes they put in lots of articulations, lots of phrasing. They show dynamic rises and falls, and that makes it easy for us. So the thing I like about this movement, and the reason I'm interested to hear you play, is that we have lots of choices in this. We have a basic tempo of 72, which actually feels a bit quick once we start to play it. So feel free to... But I also want to hear a little bit of rubato. If you're going to play metronomically for 41 measures, then I'm just going to put my head to one side, just so shape it, make it interesting, make it really sound like the title suggests, which is song. Okay.
Yes.
So take your time.
All
Let's
right.
just play the first couple of notes. Let's just do a sound check. I'm sure it's
Okay.
fine. I'd hate to stop you. I think we're good. I think we're good. The dynamics okay. I can't see you anymore. In fact, I'm going to put you I'm going to pin you so you. No, it's okay. So for me, you become big. All right, Salvador. Good luck.
Thank you.
See you at the end, unless you stop for any reason and want to talk. Okay. Good job. Good job. Well done. Well done. Well done. Yeah, fantastic. Good. Come back where I can see you. Yeah, fantastic. So nice job. I mean, to be honest, it's not an easy piece, is it? Because
Mm,
it's almost like we're on a tightrope and we just have to get to the other side. You know,
yeah.
it can be like that. Um, I would let me ask you a couple of questions first of all. Do you have you ever sung in your life?
Yes.
Tell me about it. When, and
Um,
where? How old were you, and what kind of singing was it?
um, Singing in general, I used to sing in my church choir when I was younger,
Yep.
up until I was about maybe 14.
Yep.
And that's when I really started getting into the euphonium and learning that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I've never really had much of a singing voice. Uh, but I
But
can definitely,
okay, okay. So
yeah,
actually, your history is similar to mine. I used to sing in a junior choir, a church choir. I played a bit, from when I was 5 on the cornet, alto horn, baritone, euphonium around 12, and I sang until I was around 13 or 14, same as you. And then I found the euphonium was this unbelievable voice that I wasn't going to grow out of, or the voice wasn't going to break. So
yeah.
we have that shared history. What I'm curious to know is that when you play something called a song, do you just think, okay, here's a study for euphonium, which I've got to play nicely? Or do you think this is a song and how would I sing it? And how does that reference how I play it? Do you actually consciously think that?
Yes, definitely. There is a audio issue that we kind of have because of the microphone that I have isn't very good. So if it came across a little bit not, the best, um,
No, look, hey, Salvador, I've taught Zoom lessons since March. I can hear through microphones of different quality, so that's fine. No,
yeah,
don't
yeah,
worry. No,
yeah,
the point I'm making is that when you see, for example, the first line, okay, now
right.
hopefully this is not too loud. If it is, let me know. So you could think of this just as like a brass piece. if you played
Yeah.
that to a singer or a string player, they'd probably say, "Why are you accenting every note?" And then we'd sit back in amazement and go, "What are you talking about? That's not an accent. That's just me beginning the note. Sounds like an accent." My first wife was a violinist. I used to get that all the time. So that's why we gave up playing duets and gave up actually everything in the end.
Okay.
But if I sang that, that's all of my personal history there in 10 seconds. So if I was to sing that, I wouldn't go. I'd probably go. Now, so we go away from the technical, this is tongue, this is the rhythm, into making a piece of music. And you did shape it, and you left lots of gaps. In fact, some of the gaps were long enough. I was able to fill up my glass twice. So be careful when you take a break that it's just a musical space. So it really is like a song rather than a series of phrases with holes in. So look, let's just try the. Can you play where you are without going to the back of the room? Can you just play me the first two measures, as if it's kind of quasi legato, and you really are using your voice? You know, age 13 and a half.
Okay.
Hey, I loved the last three notes. Loved it. But the beginning was so bothered about the attack. Da da dee da dee da. So just breathe through it. And one of the things I noticed is that, and it's probably my fault because here I am sitting in the UK terrorizing you from a distance, that you probably say that you normally feel much more relaxed when you play. And you've got your buddies, many of these people I'm sure you know. It's not easy playing into a microphone and a computer screen. It kind of gets easier, but it's our new real life. For the time being. We kind of got to get used to it. So make sure, Salvador, you give yourself time to breathe, because you're looking at that first note. You've got the mouthpiece there, and the danger is you go, and I want you to think of it as, imagine you've got a giant paper plane. Did you ever? When was the last time you threw a paper plane? You're probably a kid, yeah.
Oh, actually, a couple of days ago, I have a younger sibling. So.
I had a feeling you'd say that. As I said it, I thought he's going to tell me he did it yesterday. But most of us don't throw a lot of paper planes. But if you imagine that this is the breath, okay?
Right.
We don't go because we know the plane's going to go on the floor, and we don't go. Well, we could do if we're going for a world record. The most common thing you do. So just show me those two bars again. If you take a smoother up bow, upbeat breath, backhand, then it's going to be more smooth, and you're going to feel more singing because you've already introduced that feeling. Let's try that once more, just the beginning, yeah?
Sure.
I love it. This is going to be fine. And it's incredibly calming. You know, breathing well is the big de-stress of the world. If everyone who was stressed either in a motor car or before a recital or when meeting somebody or, you know, having a disagreement with somebody, if everybody would just breathe, everything works better. We're more rational, more calm, or in more control. So I felt as the high phrases come along, and let's just have a look at the first one. So have a look at measure 11. Have you written measure numbers in? It's the second. It's the second to last. Sorry, it's the last bar of the second line. Okay, so this phrase is going up. We have to stay calm. We have to plan the breath very carefully. could play softer, I could play faster, and then I'd probably breathe in different places. But I'm trying to give it a nice spacious feel. So measure 14. So that moment when you breathe just before a high note is one of the hardest things brass players do. Because we breathe a bit fast, because we're anxious. We then reset with a slightly smaller aperture. Let me ask you one more question, Salvador, and I'm going to ask you. You can ask me questions at the end. When you play, how big do you think the space is between your teeth?
I try to keep it at least like a pencil width.
Yeah, all the time. When you play high, you think about it, or just when you play loud?
All the time, actually. Yeah.
Great.
I like to be consistent.
And that's one of the things we learn from singing. If you want to have resonance on all the notes, there is no point doing what part of the evil part of your brain says, becomes smaller. And a lot of players I work with who have high note issues, just because the lips come together, the space between the teeth becomes like, you know, a tiny fraction of an inch, and sometimes even the bottom lip kind of comes below the top lip. So keep everything very natural, and the singing thing, the singing breath, the feeling of resonance, and also they're these beautiful leading notes rather than really. I mean, that's like, you know, Atari computer 1992. So think of your beautiful singing instrument, think of the beautiful sounds you have in your head, and try to eradicate anything like, oh my God, there's people listening to me, this is high, I normally mess up here. You sit at the point of delivery, all you're thinking about is using your air and your body to make music. And then a lot of the bad stuff goes away, you know, a lot of the panic as we approach what we've deemed difficult moments. So let's begin at measure 11. We've got to keep an eye on the clock, but I'm sure, Ivan, you'll start waving when we run out of time, or Sebastian will start.
All right.
So give me like a 4-minute thing, guys. Okay, then I can round up. Okay, Sal, I'm getting very familiar now. Measure 11.
Okay,
please.
I usually go by Sal anyway.
That's good. Good. I was hoping so.
All right.
Okay, Sal. That first breath is still not in you yet. You're thinking, oh God, I have to play. You've got time. You know, this is a slow movement. You have time. Relax the body. Every time you breathe, keep your eyes open. Keep a good posture. And enjoy it. You sound great. Okay, so ideally, you and I spend a bit of time together in a room so you become calm without 30 people staring at you and me sitting here writing things down. But it's a process, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that you're here and you're playing live is fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at what we would think is perhaps the most difficult moment, which is the upbeat from 25 onwards. Let me just play it for you once. We have to find some space here because the note values get a bit quicker. You know, there is an element of storytelling here. I have no idea what the story is. I have no idea what the song's about. So that means I'm free to make up my own, you know?
Yeah.
So And I'll go and then I'll say to him, I'll make it clear that I don't want to. And anyway, I've done my best. Oh, honey, I'll leave it up to you as well. You know? So there is something of this rising intention and releasing it. And we go with it and we deliver more air. You know, we could even talk, if we had more time, about using an intensity of vibrato. But
Right.
it's a bit complex for our discussion today. Right, show me that halfway through measure 24. And there's some strength here. But when you get to 27, make sure we hear every note, my friend. Every note. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, Sal. Bi-da-dee-ya-dum, da-da-da-dee. Yum, da-da-da-dee. You've got more time than you think, yeah? There's some really good stuff there, Sal. Yeah. It's not perfect, but I could hear some quality coming through the notes. Just look at the camera and just blow air 6 seconds like this, like a giant. Do it again. We've only got 1 minute left.
Sorry.
You almost look like I asked you to do the hardest thing in the world. 6 seconds. You mean 6? Oh my god.
I'm actually recovering from the coronavirus right now.
You are. Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Okay. 3 seconds would have been fine. Oh, you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm okay.
My mum's got it real bad at the moment, so we're praying for her right now. She's 82 rather than
I'm already out of it. It's just, kind of getting back into it. It's just kind of.
Yeah, my daughter had it and she's 25 and it's a slow fix. Okay, let's look at the end. We've just got time to fix the climax, okay? So we're going to go from 35. Okay, the plane gently comes into land. You're the pilot, okay? Here we go. Okay. Okay, Salvador, if you want to tongue those last 3 notes, beep, bom, 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 then do it. Make it like this is the end. That's fine. Or be oh, ho, ho, an active slur. But just ha, 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 ha is quite dangerous. Finish in style, okay? Just as the wheels touch the ground, the plane lurches to the left. Not cool. Play me the last bar. Play me the last bar, and then we're done. Thank you very much for playing today.
Thank you for listening.
My pleasure. Lovely. And just take that away. Al niente, as my Italian friends would say. And sing that for me once. Let's hear your voice. Come on. Yeah, you hear the resonance, even with your situation. That vocal resonance sounds great. All right, Sal, we're out of time. Thank you very much indeed. Well done. Well done. Fantastic. Okay, Dylan, where are you? I see you there. Yes, fantastic. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good.
Great. Now, are you going to play all of this for us?
Probably not.
I was just looking at the last variation about an hour ago and I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. Would you like to use that bit or would you prefer that we kind of stop before then? Because I don't want to miss that if you're ready to go on it.
Yeah, I can do whatever you want to hear. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it's
So
whatever.
let's plan the beginning, the air, in other words, the theme, first variation, and finale. Does that sound good?
Sure.
So we're just going to miss out second variation. Then we've got more time to think about things, yeah?
Okay.
Brilliant. Are you warmed up?
Yeah.
You've been having a quiet tootle muted. That's good. That's what I
Yeah.
encourage my students to do in Manchester. All right, let's go. Nice, beautiful melody. Well done. Fantastic. Wow, you are a virtuoso, Dylan. That's fantastic. I think you misunderstood my initial, because I wanted you to play the first variation and miss out the second one.
Oh, oh, yeah.
And
The whole
then
thing.
suddenly I'm hearing, I thought, blimey, that's a quick first variation. And then
Yeah.
I realized you were on the finale. Don't worry. If we have time, we'll try it. So lots of things I like about your playing. Yeah, very fluent. You're open here. You know, I can see you really clearly. And a lot of players I see playing, it's like everything's been kind of squeezed together when they play. And you've got your eyes open. You've got a really good open face here. Embouchure's good. You breathe in a nice open way. So you've had some good instruction or some good role models, and you've learned well. So well done.
Thank you.
So who's been teaching you? Let's get some background.
Well, in high school, I didn't have much instruction.
No.
But starting college, my last semester, I started as a freshman, and I've been with Phil Keen at Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But you've done a lot of listening as well. There's lots of good euphonium pedigree inside you. So, you know.
A lot of listening to you.
Oh,
it's
dear.
crazy. You, I don't know. It's weird.
No, but that's lovely. I'm happy to hear that. But that's not why I liked it, and I wasn't fishing for compliments. But you have a maturity about your playing. You kind of know how to phrase, you know, because a lot of people in this situation, Dylan, would go da 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 dee ba da ba da da dee, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's like carrying a sack of coals on your back, you know, and you have this elegance and line that just goes on, and you're playing it at quite a good tempo. So that was very elegant. But don't be afraid to build some dynamics. You know, if we look at the album, you probably have a Carl Fisher edition. You being
yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've got a Boozy and Hawks edition. They may be the same, but my copy just says piano on the first note, and then nothing until the beginning of the air, which again says piano, like 60 measures later. It's crazy, isn't it?
Same for me, yeah.
Same for you. Okay, good. I mean, the good thing is that doesn't mean that we play piano all the way through or nondescript dynamics. It means the composer says, over to you, Dylan. Make music with this. And so when we're making our musical choices, don't be once you start to think, you know, there's some shaping here that I could do, write it in the copy, you know? Same with the breathing. Mark it in, and at the point of delivery, we're just making music rather than thinking, oh yeah, I was supposed to go loud there. Oh, I'm supposed to breathe here. Those decisions are gone. They're preset, and then you can play. So I love the finger coordination you have. Even lovely little bits of articulation. I could have done with more dynamic in that whole first section. And as a few places where you've got the bom, 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 bom. See those three accents? We went bom, 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 bom. Now, when a composer takes the trouble to write martelotto accents, there's got to be a good reason why we go soft. I think you should be strong until you get to that moment. So if I double back about 8 measures. Yeah, and you know when this was written, roughly. Give me a year when you think Arbon wrote this.
Oh wow. That is such a
I know,
far shot.
I,
I
I
don't
know,
know.
I know you Americans don't do history like we Europeans do, but
Yeah.
but would it be 1920, 1880, or 1840?
I think 1820, pretty old.
Did I mention that one?
Oh,
1920, 18.
oh, 19
Anyway,
something.
it was early. It was
Yeah,
early.
very.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the 19th century. He was writing in Paris when everyone was singing, and or when they weren't singing, they were having a revolution. It was all free spirited and lots of expression. So there's no way, if you said to Arban, tell me how loud that should be, he would look at you and go, Mon Dieu, you are a musician. Play the music. You know, jouez la musique. So, and he wouldn't expect straight sixes. You know, there'd be a rubato in that kind of Italian, you know, in that Italian eight line. Everything was opera, you see, in Paris in
Mhm.
that point. And we forget that when we play the etudes. Now, I know when we play the grand etudes, as Arben said, this is a musical discipline. This is, you know, this is like boot camp for brass players. We have to go through this kind of thing. But when he wrote the expressive solos, that and there's no dynamics there. So look, can you do something really radical? I love your playing. We don't need to, you know, I don't need to teach you the basics because they're all there in abundance. But can you go from that place I just played from, and I want you to play it in a really radical mid 19th century Parisian style. I know you weren't there, but have a go. Okay, so we got the 3/8 notes, but the rest wasn't very radical. You see, you've been so well trained and disciplined to play what's on the copy. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to play the first two bars and then you carry on in the same style, okay? Okay, good, good. Well, I hope one day, Dylan, we can work face to face and we can really try out some ideas because you've worked out how to play the euphonium and you're a good musician. What you have to do now is when you take a solo like this, one of the old classics, is really allow yourself some freedom and some imagination. And let's take the theme. I don't think we should play the theme too slow, okay? Okay?
Okay.
Should we have a go? Show me. Just a little bit and more nuance within the phrase and certainly more rubato. Sorry. I was just pretending I was muted to show my excitement at what you did then. That was great. Beautifully creative. You probably think you're being radical, you know, but actually it's just... Really?
I do.
Did you think that was...
to, like, play
and that's
what's on the
the... That's the amazing thing about playing an instrument like the euphonium, which has a beautiful warm sound. Unless we do something with it, people just go, that was nice. That was nice. That's not a reaction that you want. I remember, you know the name Philip Spark, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so about 20 years ago, I was on a plane with him. We'd been at the Midwest in Chicago. We were going home. We'd had a couple of glasses of wine before we got on the plane, so we were telling lots of stories and being silly. And about an hour into the flight, he turned to me and he said, "Steve, you know the problem with the euphonium?" No. What is the problem with euphonium? It just sounds nice all the time. Now, nice, how are you feeling? And what kind of day is it? It's nice, yeah. But in the context of that, nice means boring.
Yeah.
And he then went on to describe in great detail when you watch a great cellist or a good violinist, there are so many ways they can vary the sound. The speed of the bow, the position of the bow, the distance of the bow to the bridge. Then you've got the right hand, and all these things give you a myriad of colors. And then we just go with our nice warm sound. Nice mouthpiece, by the way. I don't approve of the instrument, but that's fine. But we have to shape it immediately. It doesn't mean that we play things fast and we really exaggerate, but we look for things that are going to communicate. And so there's always some colors going on, all right? So can you just pick it up from... Okay? Yeah, fantastic. Okay, can we hear the missing variation? It's just like a melody, but speeded up.
Yeah.
I love it. And I hear already you're starting to just give a little bit more kind of freedom with the phrasing, It's not going to be harder for a piano player to play with you if you play musically. It's going to be harder if you don't show that normal way that they would phrase as if they play with a cellist or a singer. They'd say, "Wow, you play so musically," And if you meet a pianist who has that kind of that shared understanding with you, you can start a rehearsal and after 5 minutes, it's like, let's go and take a coffee because we don't need to rehearse. We're on the same wavelength. I tell you, it's magical when that happens. Now, we've got 2 minutes. Ivan's just told me. So let's put some light and shade. You've got the tonguing. You've got the triple tonguing. When you get the chance, I think when you've got the melody notes, you can give them a bit more sound, give a bit more definition. Okay? When you've got and then those are melody notes, so you can bring those out. Audiences love that. All they can hear is and somehow out of nothing comes this melody and they're going, that's genius. And that's why Arban loved writing these things. And that's why people in the 19th century loved to play them, because it was witchcraft, all these notes and you can still hear the tune. We still love it today. an
I
audience
know.
still clap. So, you know, some things don't date, you know. The instruments are a lot better. I'm sure the valves work a lot better than they did in 1845. Who knows? Right. So
Hope so.
let's try the first half of it once more, Dylan. Yeah, a little more clear, a little more nuance. Melody notes, bum 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 bum. Just bring them out an extra dynamic. Well done. Yeah, absolutely. So you might even want to just write a few things on there just to let you know which are the important notes. And then do a Rossini crescendo at the end. Bam, bam, and the curtains close. This is pure opera.
Yeah, no, it feels like it.
Yeah. I've just been told we're out of time. Dylan, that was absolutely fantastic, my friend. Really great to hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope we get to meet sometime in real life. Okay, so now we're going to finish with, I mentioned Philip Spark, and as if on cue, Casey is here. So this is a solo that goes back to 1978. It was the first solo that he ever composed for brass. Philip Spark studied composition and trumpet at the Royal College of Music. He quickly, as he tells me, gave up trumpet after about a year and a bit to concentrate on composition, and the world is very happy about that. And as soon as he came out of college, he received a commission to write this fantasy for euphonium. And it's for Ian Craddock. Ian Craddock was the solo euphonium player with the Yorkshire Imperial Metals Brass Band. Very good player in his day. And he gave a commission to this budding young composer straight out of college. And the rest, they say, is history. So, Casey, how are you doing?
Hello?
Yes, we
Hey, I'm
we
doing
are
great.
we are live. I like your setup there. It looks, I'm impressed already. And you haven't played.
Thank
you
you.
haven't played anything. So, so yeah, how long have you been playing this piece?
This piece, I've been playing this. I did it for a jury a couple semesters ago, so I'm familiar with the piece. It's been probably like I think a year since I played it.
Yep, good stuff. All right. So for those that don't know it, it starts with a very linear, slow introduction, almost like it says quasi-recitative. Obviously, it's a vocal term. Be-da-da, be-da-da. I always think it could be like the beginning of a movie, you know, and suddenly the camera pans in and there's this lone voice, a series of diminuendos, and then we're into a pretty moderate paced allegro section, nice high melody, some nice rhythms, some good finger stuff, and then a beautiful, almost kind of quasi jazz middle section, and then the whole piece repeats itself. So I don't think we'll do that, Casey. Let's go as far as letter N, which
Perfect.
is the, and then we'll, if we've got time, we'll tag letter V on the end so we hear the ending.
Okay.
Okay, great. Let's go.
Do you want me to skip some of the rest that we have, like letter H and J?
Absolutely. Just a comfortable gap and carry on. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, well done, my friend. Yeah, very good. Some nice playing. Yes. Okay, some things very successful. Some things we need to work on a little bit. Okay, let me ask you first question. When you practice, do you always sit down? Are you nearly always in that chair? Because you're way too comfortable.
Um, well, recently, yeah, in this chair, but otherwise, I'd be in the practice room with like the music chairs.
But do you ever practice standing up?
Um, yes, but that's like that's practice for like closer to jury or recital. Usually, I practice sitting down.
Okay, so I think you should mix it up a little bit because when you at the moment I think your air is working at about 50-60% efficiency. And because you're sitting and you're comfortable, I mean, if you said, look, I have to sit down because I've got this medical thing, fine. I apologize. I didn't know, and we move on. But I do think that if you stood straight or if you sat really straight, because a lot of the little things like, bop, 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 it's nothing to do with your lips. Everything's fine. But your air is down on energy for me. And I heard that from the beginning. Ba-da-dee, da-da-dee, boom. I needed more. You could have blown all the stress, all the nerves away with those opening couple of phrases. Now, when we got to the allegro, good tempo, perfect tempo. The rhythms are correct, but I need more. I don't know the right word. I need to play with more authority. And when you breathe well, that's what you feel when you play, especially a figure like that. We'll try it a little bit in the middle. Little bit more sound on the climaxes. Little bit more contrast. Take a gut full of air at letter F. It's like nothing else in the piece, really, apart from maybe the section after letter L. There's a nobility about this. Now, actually, I would like to start, however, just after letter J. Now, this is when the music transitions from being lively into being this rather genteel, almost kind of night music. So we've got... For me, that's just it's just like a scene change in a play. The lights go down, and so when you get, if you can, one breath until in slow and relaxed, and a giant breath. So let me ask you the same question, Casey, as I asked Dylan. What's your singing history?
I haven't had like a real like performance background for singing, so most of my
No.
Yeah, I've just been singing in like either my classes or it's like the shower in the car.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. It's about what I do now. But having said that, as you probably heard today, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I sing a lot to demonstrate, if you like, the natural way that we can play a phrase rather than sitting working out like an equation, 2 plus, let's just sing it. It's easier. And we've just done a radio, well, kind of a radio internet program on Maurice Murphy. Maurice Murphy, for 30 years, was the first trumpet player of the London Symphony Orchestra. And sadly, he died in 2010. But we did a tribute, hour and 10 minutes. It's just come off the air just before I came here, where so many players paid tribute to Maurice about being such a beautiful, warm musician. He was the guy who played Star Wars. He was the Star Wars trumpet player. John Williams, his favorite trumpet player. And when people asked him, how do you do that, Maurice? Well, I don't know. I just look at the phrasing. I just imagine I'm singing it and I play it. He never taught lessons. Well, he did, but they were awful because he said, I don't know what to say. If you can't play it, I'm very sorry. But he actually gave a lot of his secrets away when he said, I just look at the phrasing, I just imagine singing it, and then I play it on a trumpet, So can you do that for me? Ba-ba-ba-da-ba-bam, and take the biggest breath of today. And let's just see how we can control that air during that line. Okay, let's have a go. Beautiful, beautiful. Well done. You did exactly what I wanted. And that transition bar, one measure before, I'm not sure if I say one bar. We say one bar before K, but I know it's measure there. Otherwise, we think we're talking about bars. That's expressive, so don't rush it. And then we have a series of sighs, and this is really beautiful. time you breathe, 3 things to remember. I'm going to test you in a minute. Relax when you breathe. It's only air. Breathe like a giant. Relax when you breathe. Nicole, I'm going to test you as well. Shall I write this down? Diego, I'm going to test you in a minute. Relax when you breathe. It's only air. Breathe like a giant. Now, those 3 little... I really think I should bring out a T-shirt with these things on them. And then when I just teach you, I just stand there with my T-shirt and people think, what's... Oh, yeah, I remember. Relax when you breathe. Because if you go... If you breathe in more than air, that tension has to come out. And if you don't breathe like a giant, we breathe too small. So letter K. What was the first one?
Relax.
When you breathe. Very good. Well done. Now I can't see you when you play, Casey. If we
Sorry,
ever,
my camera's in a
no, it's okay. If we ever do another class together anywhere on this planet involving a camera, I want to see what's happening here. Well, don't worry. No, it's up. that would help too. It's like, what are you trying to hide? Okay, now let's go back to the allegro. You remember I said the allegro gusto. Remember I said I want you to play with more authority. What does that mean? It doesn't mean louder. It means... Okay, let's try those first 6 measures. Boom, 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 boom. That's like a metronome hooked up to a subwoofer. Boom, boom. It's great fun. I played it once with a conductor who knew Philip Spark very well, and I was young, and I set off, and the conductor just put his hands down. I said, "Maestro, you're playing too fast." And your tempo was fantastic, but when I was young, I always would have try to play this about 116 or 120 tempo. And the conductor was absolutely right. It is a majestic allegro, so you've got to feel the pulse really clearly. Okay, once more. And breathe like a giant.
Yep.
Yeah, it's better. It's better. When you get quarter notes, ba-da-ba-ba-bum, ba-rium, ba-da-ba-ba-bum, be-rium, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-be. Yeah? Okay, let's now go ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I'm just a little bit worried about your articulation, Casey. Not only here, but sometimes when you're tonguing in slower music. What's your consonant? What are you thinking in terms of T, D, R, U? What's your go-to articulation?
T.
Did you start playing that on a trumpet?
No.
No, you started on euphonium. I would love you to think the letter D, and the default vowel setting would be an R sound. Da. Da 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 da. Because when you use the T, you're much more liable to run into some blocks. Because you've got this big space, you then put the tongue between your teeth and go, and occasionally, about 10 times in the first performance, it just misfired. So da, the letter D, immediately followed by an open R sound. So if we think of this, Da 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 da. Okay, slower, and try to think a more deliberate D rather than a T. You may do a D, but think a T. I now want you to think a D and do a D.
Okay.
Full house. Nice and slow from there. Da da
So
da
right
da
on
da
the
da.
line?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm being unkind, which I'm not, it's not in my nature, but there's too many fluffy notes. Da da fa 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 da da fa 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 da fa di da da fa fa di da 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 da. Imagine that I cross you with a snare drummer. Do 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 do. The snare drummer playing the euphonium. Just imagine that concept with this lick, okay? Take a big breath. Let's try it once more. Do 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 do. Good. Just on a middle B flat. Casey. Good. Octave higher. Okay, now we should be thinking do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Still a D, but now it's an oo. Yeah, now you've got more sound. I'm not going to ask you to do it, but I want you to experiment with that. Also low tones and pedal tones. Daw, D-A-W. To get your tongue doing what you want. Okay, we're down to probably 1 minute now. So let's try that in tempo. Okay, from the beginning of the fourth line. I think you've got the same copy as me, yeah?
Yeah.
Great. The clearest da, breathe like a giant, relax when you breathe. It's only air was the missing one, which Nicole had ready on her list. Okay, let's go. Let's hear that line. Oh, that's great. That's great. Do it once more. Fantastic, Casey. Relax. Take a bigger breath. Yeah, forget the last note. You're doing great. It's starting to go faster though. Okay, I've been told that's time. Casey, I could spend another hour with you on this piece, I'm sure. But well done. If you can, next time, I want to see you. I want to see you. No. Granddad, can I have another coffee? You look too comfortable.
You got it.
And no, you can't have a cookie. So yeah, you've got to get more active with your air, because you're a good player, but you've limited yourself with airflow. That's affected your articulation. It means when you play high, you close down a little bit. You know, your musical ideas are good. Your sense of rhythm is fantastic. You've got to become a large bore player. I don't mean boring. I mean large space player. Which is the phrase I would have worked with you if we had time. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah. Well done.
Thanks to all the student performers that played today. Great job. Now we're going to go ahead and open it up to the floor for anyone that would like to ask questions to Steve. How we're going to moderate this is you're going to type your name in the chat, and we're going to go in the order that we receive them. So go ahead and type your name in if you'd like to ask Steve a question.
Even about soccer is fine. The definition of football.
First question coming from Dylan.
Okay.
Hi. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a huge pleasure.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you.
I was just wondering how one gets started on a soloist career. I've never known the in and outs of that.
Yeah. It doesn't involve filling a form, having a signature, and then it starts. It's a slow process. You see, if I give you a quick kind of 1 minute history, I love the sound of brass bands. My father was, God rest his soul, he died last week. My father was in a brass band, and I used to, as a kid, listen to the sound. I had that sound in my head. I knew that I had a good singing voice, or so people told me. So they organized singing lessons. I sang my way through to the age of 13 and enjoyed playing brass. And I used to go to the Salvation Army. I'm sure you know what that is. They had lots of concerts, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon. And every couple of weeks, someone said, Stephen, would you sing a solo? Would you play a solo next Sunday afternoon? Yeah, I'd love to. So standing up on my feet with about 100 people looking at me at that age became kind of normal. And I look forward to it. A lot of people hate the idea of playing solo. And unfortunately, when you're a student, you're largely assessed on your ability to play on your own. So you've got to adopt that role. So for me, when I was young, when I was 7, 8 years old, I did singing competitions. I went to festivals and sang against 10 boys my age, all singing the same song. And I guess I found a naturally slightly competitive streak. I joined the National Youth Brass Band in the UK, met lots of kids my own age who were much better than me, and thought, okay, game on. When I left the comfortable south coast of England, I moved up into the brass band territory in the north of England, joined a colliery band, which would that even then still had miners who were working underground, came up, played with the brass band in the evening. And it was a great band, and I was playing, I guess, pretty well. The conductor said, I want you to play this solo next weekend. We entered a TV competition, BBC Best of Brass, and they featured me as a soloist, and I won 2 years running. So all of a sudden, by 1985, this little boy from the south coast of England was a solo euphonium player. So I enjoyed playing in brass bands. But then when I didn't have a brass band concert, somebody in the Netherlands or Belgium or Germany would say, could you come and play a solo with our wind band? So it evolved, Dylan, over about a 15, 20-year period. I wanted to study euphonium when I was 18. There were no music conservatories in the UK that would take it then. 10 years later, it did. I was the first euphonium teacher at the Royal Academy, Birmingham Conservatory, Royal Northern Scottish Academy. Everything changed in 10 years. So all of a sudden, I was a teacher and a soloist. And around the age of 28, I thought, I really enjoy this life of being a soloist and a teacher. Let's try and do it for the next 30 years. 30 years later, I'm still doing it. So I feel very, very fortunate that I've had those opportunities. I think the secret is to take the opportunities when they come along. If somebody says, could you solo with a community band? Don't think, oh, I've got nothing to play. The answer is yes. I would love to do that. I mean, goodness me, we'd love just to play in a band at the moment.
Yeah.
Never mind solo with it. So I think you have to enjoy playing for people. And if it's like, I just want to play in the band, I just want to be, then probably you're not going to feel comfortable as a soloist. If you love the feeling of saying, listen to me, you have to be a little bit of a show off, and I try to keep it really, really under control. But if you don't enjoy that, if you don't look at 1,000 people and go, I'm going to play for you, you're just going to run out the exit into the car park in your car and and you're never going to play again. So you've got to like it. And if you want to be a soloist and you don't like it, find a way to like it. Play for your friends, play for your family, record something, stick it on YouTube, share it with the world. People go, hey, that's amazing. Hopefully it is. And then can you do another one? Yeah, sure. I'll play a slow piece. It's an evolution, Dylan. Do you have aspirations for this with your instrument? Are you a euphonium player or?
I'm a tuba player, but
Yeah.
I recently picked up a euphonium when quarantine started, and it's kind of been like a passion project to me.
Great.
And so yeah, I think it'd be something that'd be really cool to do in the future once I put in a lot more time.
Well, or on the tuba. I mean, look at people like Badsvik and Roland Sempoli and all these guys who can, take the tuba into any hall and people go, wow, I never knew a tuba could do that. There are still millions of people in the world that would still say, wow, I never knew a tuba could play that, even if you just played the first 4 bars of Chadas, So there's a lot of people to impress. And if you go out there and do it and make things happen. And I was lucky. I was playing the euphonium in brass bands and solos and on TV when everything was opening up. There were brass bands. There were brass band competitions on national British television, And it was like a crest of the wave. And suddenly there were brass bands in British conservatories and they needed teachers. So 10 years earlier, nobody wanted me. So I went to a university, did an academic degree, had a double life. I practiced early morning. I played with the brass band. I went to the Students' Union and practiced till midnight. And then I was a normal student again for 4 years, And then all of a sudden doors started opening. And if you're persistent and you want something bad enough, it's going to happen for you. It's going to happen. Every one of my students that's wanted it badly enough is now having a fantastic career. Amen. So I hope
Thank
that
you.
helps. I hope that helps, Dylan.
Yeah, tremendously. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
All right. The next question comes from Sal.
All right. Hello again.
Hi.
I have a couple questions. First one should be quick. How many albums do you have recorded in total? And the second one would be if you had to choose a specific solo that you would just play for the rest of your life every day, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh, it's like saying to somebody, "What's your favorite food?" I like sushi, but I don't want to eat it every day. Okay, so the first question, it depends how you define an album. If you define every LP or compact disc that's been released where I'm playing as a featured soloist or on it or with a British tuba quartet, the answer is 76 now. And some of them are education CDs, like the Dahaska play along series, play along duets, play along classical euphonium. So there's somewhere in the region of 38 actual straight solo albums, and then some ensembles, some brass band where I did a guest thing. So, and I'm not sure how many, not that I'm tired of making them, but the idea of making recordings that people buy and you don't lose a ton of money on, it's quite scary the way downloads, people say, yeah, make an album every 6 months. We'll listen to it on Spotify. Yeah. Who's going to pay for that little baby? If you rehearse and record with a brass band, even a brass band, which is an amateur, you do a good one, it's going to cost you $10,000. You put it on Spotify, you're going to get back about $60 in the first year. It's absolutely shocking. Anyway, I was happy that I was my first CD was 1990, the Rondo CD, and then from then until now it's around 76. So again, I was lucky at a time when people were buying lots of CDs, and people still do, they still do, but not in the numbers. When I brought out a new album, I would get a pre-order of 600 CDs for Japan. Now it's 30, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
And my favorite solo, no, I really, despite what I said about I don't want to eat sushi every day, I have a few solos that I love. There's a piece called Bliss by Herman Palhuber, which is available for brass band and wind orchestra. And it just has this sense of elation. You know, the word bliss meaning extremely happy.
Right.
There is something in that solo that when I finished it, it's like, yes. And you know, there are other solos of a light nature, like, you know, the pantomimes, like the Diamond Concerto for Philip Spark.
Yeah.
I love the UFO Concerto, Johann de Meyer. It's a big beast. It's very physical, but again, tremendous sense of joy. Even if you have to lie down for a while after you've performed it, it's very physical. And then things like the Hallows Concerto by Rolf Rudin, who's a German classical composer. It's a 30-minute concerto with symphony orchestra. I couldn't say I want to play it every day or every concert, but I love it when that opportunity comes around to play a huge concerto. It's like Harry Potter on steroids. If you think of that kind of mystery, exciting, fighting, flying music, in quite a contemporary nature, but it's that. And I played it with the Stuttgart Philharmonic in 2007. That was the premiere. They spent 4 months saying, we don't want a euphonium concerto. By the way, what's a euphonium? We persuaded them that it was really fine, legit. I sent them lots of recordings, and then I got this call from the composer. They said yes. And a year later, we performed it. It was beautiful. So each piece that I've commissioned or been involved with has a significance, you know, for me, how it began, the contact with the composer, the reaction the first night, and seeing it in publication, seeing my students play it. You know, you're getting old when your students play your pieces better than you do. Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for the question, Sal. And really good luck to you. Yeah.
The next question comes from Nicole.
Hello, Mr. Mead. My name is Nicole. I'm actually not a euphonium player. I am a horn player. This is a question I tend to ask a lot at master classes. But what is some advice you could give to a musician about nerves? I have a recital coming up this semester at Cal State Fullerton, and even though I'm in my last year here, I still deal with some performance anxiety every now and again. And
Sure.
You seem to have so much experience in performing, so I'm sure you must have started somewhere where you had to build up to that stage presence. So what is some advice you can give?
It's a really great question, Nicole. And you see, everyone is different. Everyone's feeling of nerves. It could be they feel sick the day before. It could be they're fine backstage, and when they go on stage, they go to jelly. It could be they're jelly backstage. They go on stage, and it's like, now I can play. It could be a dry mouth. It could be the shakes. It could be your air goes really bad. You know, your ability to get air in your body. So all of those things are symptomatic. And what I ask people to do is to think why and when was the first time you remember being nervous. So you say, why am I nervous? Because I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. Okay, so don't mess it up. Okay, so that means you sort that out in a practice room. You go through everything like with the finest, you know, the slowest practice, the best breathing. You convince yourself that this piece, it was quite scary, but now you've become friends with it. And now I'm okay to play it for people. If you think that, you know, bars 9 to 12, I always mess up, you're probably going to mess it up. So yeah, you could be nervous about that. So pick repertoire that you can be comfortable with. Make sure that your comfort comes from doing things well in the practice room. You leave a practice room thinking, that's the best I've ever played it. I'm now actually looking forward to playing this. And it doesn't matter whether it's a jury of 5 people or a concert with 300 people. You and the music have made friends. You've gained your confidence from the music. Okay. Now, the things that can undo that are if you don't trust your breathing technique. If your breathing is shallow or high, or you breathe through resistance, that will all get worse when a performance comes, because the first thing that happens is that your body starts to protect itself and you become smaller. Okay, so if it helps to do some yoga so that you can stay calm and breathe. By the way, I have a 1-hour breathing class live on the internet tomorrow. It's 2 p.m. UK time, so I fear that's quite early for you. But if you go to the Stephen Mead Euphonium Club on Facebook, Steve Mead Euphonium Club. I'm doing two live classes this weekend. Tomorrow is an hour of breathing techniques. It's all free membership. Just sign and you're in. And then on Sunday we're doing an hour. I'm doing an hour on how to approach learning from the Arbon method book. In other words, pages and pages of black notes. How do we make sense of it? How do we start? What tempos? So both are 2 p.m. UK time. Is that like 6 a.m. for you guys? Yeah, it's a bit early, but it'll be there afterwards. As soon as the class is finished, it'll be on the Steve Mead Euphonium Club. You just hit it, play along, do some exercises. So Nicole, breathing, how do you feel about, sorry, you have to unmute. How do you feel your breathing is? Do you feel you're in control of your air? Is that one of the things that goes worse when you get nervous?
Usually when I do start performing, breathing kind of does go out of the door. So
Yeah.
I try to prepare breathing as much as I can in my repertoire by writing it in and making sure I make sure I practice where to breathe too.
But do you practice breathing?
Not as much as I should.
Bingo! We found it. We found the golden key to unlock your magic door. So you have to join me. You have to promise me you'll watch this video tomorrow. I don't say I have all the answers, but when somebody says putting in the breathing places just means you go rather than. And if you have any resistance here, if you get nervous, you just simply, instead of having a 2.5 liter capacity, you have a 0.75 liter capacity. And then your lips don't vibrate well. And then your body says, okay, that spiral into nervousness can be very, and once that's happened once or twice, you come to expect it. It happens again. And then that's the frustration. And that's why you're out looking for answers, Nicole. And I absolutely get that. But for me, if I can get a student to breathe calmly through open spaces on its own, on their own, with the mouthpiece, with the instrument, with the pieces they're doing, boy, you can see the comfort, the confidence just growing like a bread in the oven. It's rising because of that. Now, a lot of this is to do with open spaces. So if you take a deep breath, I want you to do one for me, Nicole. I'm sorry. Just so open up. I just want you to go. Good. Do it again and be absolutely silent. I want you to do it, but I don't want to hear it. Yeah. This is why breathing classes on the internet can be very difficult, because a really good breath, you're not hearing, you're hearing nothing. Your body's moving and supporting the air. So have a little experiment. The most important thing is make sure your repertoire is playable. Make sure you nail it down in the practice room. Make sure you practice your breathing. Allow your confidence to grow. Do some tryout concerts for friends. Don't just leave it an important recital for the moment. Play it 3 times. You know, the New Year's Day concert with the Vienna Philharmonic, by the time they play it on New Year's Day, it's the 4th time they've played that concert in 2 days. It always looks so amazing. They play it and they play it and they play it and they play it. And anyone who's not sure, the conductor's not clear, it's nailed down by the time the cameras come on New Year's Day. So think of that, okay? Thanks for your question, Nicole. Pleasure.
The next question comes from Joshua Parsons.
Hi, good evening.
Hi,
I
Joshua.
wanted to first say I so much appreciate your approach to the instrument, and it's been a model for me personally and for my students as well. I wanted to ask, who are some vocalists that have inspired your lyrical approach to the euphonium?
I've been asked this question a lot, and the answer, well, Freddie Mercury. You see, people don't really, unless you know, and various opera singers, there were lots of singers, but there was something about this freedom. Freddie Mercury is like Maurice Murphy playing the trumpet, There is something about this. This goes from here to here with passion, and sometimes it's controlled, you know, and sometimes it's absolutely, you know, free. So I have lots of favorite singers, you know, Placido Domingo and these kind of people. The Italian singers have always impressed me. Pavarotti, you know, I've got all Pavarotti's recordings. It's the classic voice. I did a class. If you do visit the Stephen Mead Euphonium Club on Facebook, you'll see that 2 weeks ago I did a class on opera, playing opera classics on brass instruments. And so we used recordings from Pavarotti, we did 6 arias. 1 was Wagner and 5 were Puccini. Now all the music's there. If you want to go back and take that class, or your students want to take that class, and just think, so you get these vocal characteristics that are rather da 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 on a brass instrument, which aren't very pretty. So yeah, probably if I was to name a top 2, it would be Pavarotti and Freddie Mercury, who are 2 unlikely bedfellows. But if you think of sonority, passion, communication, eloquence, power, you know, it's all there. And there are lots of nicer, more genteel classical singers that I can listen to turning a phrase. How about you, Joshua? Do you have a favorite singer when you think about studying from a voice?
One that always stands out to me is Kathleen Battle.
Yeah,
just very much appreciate the effortless quality, especially in the upper range.
Yeah. If I could draw up a top 15 or top 20, you know, it would be, goodness me, what have they got to do with brass playing? Everything.
Excellent.
And brass players that, you know, if I say to brass players, what classical singers have you listened to? They look at me like, is that a trick question? No, it's not, because you don't listen. It's never been easier to go to YouTube, you know, and click on, you know, Puccini arias or Brahms songs, or, you know, and, you know, Schubert songs, you know. I remember when I was at Bristol University, my teacher was Derek Bourgeois. Now, he's quite a well-known composer. A lot of people know Derek Bourgeois. He died about 4 years ago. Lovely guy, genius. And he was doing a lecture session on Schubert song cycles, Die Winterreise and stuff. So he said to all of us, right, I want you to go home, and I want to back to where you live, put some headphones on, listen to the recording of Schubert song cycle with the music. And he looked at me and he said, especially good for you, Steve. I said, what? I'm a brass player, you know. So I went home and I listened to these songs, and I followed, and I tried to predict what the singers would do with the music. I followed the line, and it's like, oh, that's beautiful. I'd have never have done that. Oh my God, how that sound is shaped to the words. And that's part of our brass education. It's not just about, you know, or smashing our way through Bordoni with no expression. I go to Italy and hear people destroy Bordoni. I said, do you not know this is 300 years old? You know, this was opera singers training music. So, I thought it was a trombone book. No, it's a singer's manual, you know, but there's no dynamics. What does that mean? Well, it means there's no dynamics. No, it means you have to make them all up. And when I listened to Schubert song cycles at Bristol University, it was life-changing. Is to take a piece of melody that only has maybe 4 different notes and play it in such a way that you can make people cry. My God. That's what I try to do, even when the music's going fast, and which is what the Arbon class is about on Sunday. Just take 1,000 notes. Don't just play 1,000 notes like, you know, it's beef burgers coming off the, you know, off the line. You've got to shape everything. And so those singers help me, and And if I think back as a singer, I wasn't a great singer. I still like to sing, and I've sung a little bit for you now. If I ever damage my lip, you may hear of my burgeoning. Probably at the age of 58 is too damn late, but I still love to sing. And if you don't love to sing, I would urge you to try. Put some headphones on, get the music to one of your favorite songs. Yep, I got it. I just called to say I love you, and try and sing in tune. Sing to a tuning machine. Watch the needle go back, because, it's quite exciting to get it in the middle as well. Tuning machines are unforgiving things, Do not auto-tune. Anyway, Josh, thank you for the question.
Thank you.
We should all vocalize more. We should all have singing idols and songs that we can try to vocalize ourselves. It's a wonderful way to spend time.
All right. Looks like that is all we have for people with questions. I was wondering, would you mind if we take like a group picture for us to post on our social media stuff?
My pleasure.
All right.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
If you would like to turn your cameras on.
All these handsome people.
All right. Ready?
Good stuff.
1,
Yeah.
2, 3. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for doing this with us today.
I forgot to wave.
Oh, we'll do it again.
Okay, let's do it again. Let's go again. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. All right.
Hey, that's been real pleasure to meet all of you. Really, I don't get to the West Coast nearly enough. So hopefully once we're out of this pandemic mess and I can travel again, I would love to come and meet you all. Talk about music, play music, go for a drink. All the good things in life that we're missing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mead.
My pleasure.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck. Enjoy your music making. Yeah. Bye.
Bye, everybody.